The next guy I wanted to dig in on is Buddy Hield, man. I've been a Buddy Hield guy. I pounded the table saying it's going to come. It's going to come back. I know that role players play better at home, but dude, it looks pretty hopeless out there. That like the lack of pop in his game is surprising and really disappointing to me. I'm kind of wondering if Buddy Hield's a lost cause at this point, and I think a lot of the gamble at the trade deadline is that he would be good enough to go on a couple scoring spurts to keep this team just afloat during the stretches that they need to. It does not look like that's coming to fruition. What's your feel for Buddy? Does that change, and what do they need to do to make that happen?
Yeah, dude, it sucks. I like the Knicks are doing a good job. They definitely, did their research on him. They're running him off the line and making him put the ball on the deck, which I don't think really anybody wants to see from him. And he's done a fair job. He did that in the Heat game. He did a good job of that, but they were in that zone, so there was space for him to do that. He does not have a quick enough release where he's coming off screens and even pump faked one where he was like, I was like, damn it, dude, let it fly. I don't care. You got to shoot those. You're out here for one reason, and it's to at least chuck those up. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's been frustrating because, it's frustrating. These guys get frustrated because their role is so defined. It's like you got one thing to do, and if you do it, I thought he's competed defensively fine enough.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I think Nurse demands a lot on that end, obviously, but yeah, I think the jumper has got to be something where it's it's got to go in, man. It's just got to go in. There's a couple of the last two games where it's that's just got to go. It's got to go. He's got to shoot it, and it's got to go. Otherwise, he's kind of don't need him out there if he's not going to take and make those shots. So it is frustrating. It's hard. Those guys are hard to gauge because it's he's only taken a couple of shots and he's missed all of them, which is brutal. But it is if he does, dude, if he breaks one of these, if he gets hot at home and makes 5-6 threes in a game, it's damn, it shit's over really quickly. So it's it's hard because he potentially has that in him, but when he's not shooting and not hitting, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, for sure. And to give him a compliment before I lay into him a little bit, I do think that these have been some of his best defensive games ever. The way he is competing on the floor. Yeah, probably in his entire NBA career. But he's out there to be a shooter, man. He's out there to be a 3-point sniper, a guy that can space the floor. Particularly what's been frustrating to me is he's always been a very active off-ball mover. It's one of his more positive traits. Feels like he's doing it without a plan. There was one play that stood out to me last night where he ran from directly underneath the basket right to the top of the key and got the ball, but his back's literally facing the basket. And it's you're not creating a shot for yourself or anyone when you're doing things like that. And now in a little bit of his defense, I would appreciate a greater effort from Nick Nurse to create shots for him that run him off pin downs, create some bag screens where you can create open looks for him. Just a little more opportunity within that, I think would be nice. And I think he's a good enough shooter to which he deserves that. But the bottom line is he just hasn't been good. There's no ability to beat a guy off a dribble, no real ability to kind of penetrate. He essentially is a spot up shooter. And I thought he was more than that. And I've seen flashes of him being more than that, which is frustrating as well. I brought up Cam Payne because I do think that to me is probably the swap here. That Cam Payne, he's worse defensively than Buddy, which is saying something. He doesn't have a quick release either. He shoots it like a toddler, which we've mentioned. But Buddy, if Buddy doesn't have a quick release either, I do know Cam Payne will not be afraid of the moment. He is a guy who's shown it in the playoffs before. He's got a 29-point playoff performance under his belt already in his career. What do you think of that? Is that the move here? Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I think it's hard to mix in another 6 foot and below guard. You already have Maxey and Lowry, and I think it's tough. Both of those guys either have to be off the court or you have to be doing something different defensively for him to be on the court, and that's probably why he's not playing. I think what you mentioned too, we've seen at times there was a game. Was it again, it might have been the Pistons game or whatever it was, or the Magic game, whatever it was, when Hield had 8 threes in that game. But it started when he got often baseline out of bounds, screen from Joel at the wing, and he came down, got a clean pass, a clean look, knocked it down, and then he started going. Yeah. So I would appreciate in those moments, early on in the game where you're still figuring it out, who's going to play the minutes, it'd be great to get a look where you draw up a play, you have a play for Hield where he's coming off a screen, similar to what I just said with Kelly. I know it's easier said than done, but have something in place where it's like these role players got to get going. We got to make sure that they're part of the game plan here. We got to make sure that they're contributing and making life easier on Joel and Tyrese. Get that guy going because he can swing you the game. In terms of Cameron Payne in general, I'd be happy to see him out there. Like I know like he might be like kind of controversial at times, but some people don't think he's very good. But like honestly, the ball comes out of his hands and I think it's going in.
Yeah.
Which is, not something you can say about everybody. And he definitely he tries his ass off, dude, and he's a great energy. He's a spark. He's a great energy out there. And if he got some minutes, I definitely would not be opposed to that. Like I'm not opposed to it at all. I think that some of these guys should have a shorter leash. Like you have a deep enough bench right now to, if some guys aren't going to be, if some guys don't have it that night, that game specifically, or even just in that moment, and you have to yank them early, you got to do what you got to do. Like right now, like I said earlier, it's do or die. You got to do it. So yeah, maybe Cameron Payne is the difference maker in game 3.